Good morning, viewers. This is a little preview, a taster of the film that I'm hoping to make this year based on a script I'm writing myself. I'm walking up to the position of the opening scene, the title scene. The film's provisionally entitled London Road, or perhaps Exit 4. FOR, that is, but of course it sounds like FOUR, which, as you all know, is the junction number for London Road off the Coventry Ring Road. So, the title sequence would be something like this. We're looking down London Road towards the Frodo Bridge, the railway bridge over the road, as it goes down towards Toll Bar End. And it'd probably be a bit darker than this. It's early morning, it's 2012, it's summer. And I would envisage tracking the headlights of a car appearing from under the bridge, and then slowly, as it approaches, and then speeds past, and we see just the beginnings of Coventry city centre. That's probably not a very good position, but you get the idea. One thing to note about this film is that Coventry is actually, in effect, going to be a character in the film. So I'd be hoping to show lots of views of the city, both well known and not so well known if you're not a Coventry resident, both good and bad. And the main protagonist, Alex, who I'll tell you a little more about in a minute, is going to spend a day in Coventry walking around the city. Not an unusual thing for him to do, and in fact, in theory, this day isn't going to be any different from any other. In theory, that is. Anyway, back to the title sequence, and we don't actually get as far as the city centre. We stay just outside the ring road, and we're going to just take a view down Gulson Road, because this is the area in which Alex lives. Quite a long view down the road. I just quite like this view anyway, and the idea is we're just getting closer to Alex's house. There's quite a lot of building work going on in Coventry at the moment, and I rather like the juxtaposition of the old and the new that you sometimes get. Okay, so these opening shots will theoretically be fades from one to the other. So we'll fade from London Road to Gulson Road, we'll fade from Gulson Road to AN other road at least, and eventually we're going to home in on the protagonist. So what about that protagonist, Alex? Well, I can tell you that he's 24 years old, still lives in his parents' house, he's unemployed, but he's not thick, he's quite intelligent actually, bit of a loner, only really had two real friends, and they were Bobby, or rather I should say Roberta, but she hates Roberta, and Paul. And they all lived in the same street, they went to the same junior school, they went to the same high school. And it was always kind of assumed that Paul and Bobby would get together. And that is indeed what happened. So Alex, the short podgy one, was a bit of an odd one out in a way. But the three stuck together because they kind of had the same sense of humour. What about Bobby and Paul then? Well, Bobby used to like to boss Alex about very self-assured, very intelligent, very feisty, a bit reckless at times. Paul was very different to both of them, really. Paul was the sporty one. Paul was the school jock. Paul was good at everything, good at maths, good at English. But what was nice about him was that he wasn't at all arrogant, because he was confident in himself. He didn't need the approval of anybody else. So everybody got on with him. And so our band of three stuck together through thick and thin. Well, they did, that is, until after the end of school, at 18, something happened. Alex never quite found out exactly what it was, or why this happened, but for some inexplicable reason, Paul just decided to up and leave and go to New Zealand without a moment's notice, without telling anybody at all. Now, Alex assumed that Bobby must have known why that had happened, but he was peeved. In fact, he was quite hurt in a way, because Paul was supposed to be his best friend and he didn't tell him a thing. And what's more, he's never heard from him since. Doesn't even know if he's alive. Anyway, back to our opening sequence. So, here we are at the front door. We fade into this shot, and in a moment we fade to the other side of the door, and then slowly up the stairs and approaching what actually was supposed to be a closed door, but never mind, and then in to the bedroom of the now famous Alex. All you will see here is a lump under the bedclothes. We'll probably pan by the clock just to give you an idea of the time, and you might see just a hand hanging out from underneath the duvet. Anyway, a little bit more information about Alex, and this is actually quite important. It rather goes to the essence of who he is, and the thing that you need to know about him is that he's a bit of a dreamer, a bit of a fantasist, and he's been saying for years that he's going to move down to London and get a job there because, you know, Coventry's a bit boring, there isn't anything to do. But of course, there's not much evidence of this. He's been saying it for years. I mean, he was going to go to university and that didn't happen. He's still unemployed, and as I said before, he's not unintelligent. And, you know, Bobby knows the score. She tells him like it is. And by the way, back onto the thing about Paul and Bobby and Paul disappearing. Well, we assumed that Bobby knew, and, well, yeah, she did, actually. But so why didn't she tell Alex? Well, it was a bit complicated for her. I think she decided not to tell him. He never asked. I think they just both decided to let sleeping dogs lie. And her life's different now. She's married, by the way. She married a doctor. And it wasn't anything like being on the rebound, for example. I mean, just things move on. She's changed. She now lives in Earlsdon. Oh yeah, she's a lot better off than she used to be. But she's not lost, you know, any of her character really. She just knows how to play the game, I suppose. So, there you have it. Well, it's now the middle of March, and I'm hoping to get this film made in about July. And in order to do that, I'm going to need help from a lot of people, both in front of and behind the camera, and probably quite a lot of extras. So if you're interested at all in getting involved with this project, then do please get in touch. Thanks.